pirate broadcast once again. And, interesting people doing interesting things. And today is no different. And, if you're following the pirate broadcast in LinkedIn, or you're watching it from YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, wherever you happen to be consuming this information, I just encourage you to share this with others around you, and follow us so we can actually share some information and spread some good cheer today. Because right now we have Carol Campos in the room, and I'm so excited and full of gratitude for you being here, Carol. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Oh, like I said, I'm better than average because I want to be, I want to be above average when I get out of bed. So today's a great day, fill it with gratitude, be present because today is a gift, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the way I look at life. And I just want to extend that gratitude to everyone in the room, anyone joining in. I love and appreciate the fact that you're here. So we want to share some good information with you today that maybe might get a shift in perspective. It might bring some light in your life, and who knows what's going to happen, right? So Carol, tell me what is going on for you today. You just finished up a conference, this online virtual conference, and with some phenomenal people involved. And so how are you feeling about that?
It was pretty exciting. This journey is pretty new. Only started at the end of 2018. So to have people approach you that you respect to be a part of their masterclass series, it was like, whoo, yeah, we made it, So it just was kind of that validation.
Yeah.
And plus, it was just super nice people to work with. And the other nice thing was that my business partner and also best friend of over 20 years, Deb Sorensen, we had been planning to do an online course for a long time. And this really kind of lit the fire because it's like, okay, now we got to get this done. So for a lot of reasons, it was a really great thing for us.
Well, what was the most surprising part of the equation? What was the most surprising the most surprising part of the journey for you in this virtual masterclass? Because I know a lot of people that have done this. I know a lot of people that have participated in it, and everybody has a slightly different experience because, a lot of times it generates a lot of traffic, a lot of interest and conversation. And it sometimes feels a little bit overwhelming because, can I keep up with the comments? Can I keep up with the communication? Can I add enough value to really feel like I'm contributing to the group? And so those are some of the things that I've heard feedback from, but I just kind of curious how your experience was on this.
Yeah. And we definitely had a little trepidation, going into this for the first time, because you know, people are giving you their time. Time is valuable, and you want to make sure you're giving that something, giving them something that's worth their time. So that was one thing. We worked hard on it. We felt good about it. What we didn't expect, and what was kind of cool thing, was hearing from people that we didn't know from all over the country. And they hadn't been connections on LinkedIn, or it wasn't something where they were familiar with the Divine Breadcrumb podcast. So getting the comments and people registering that were totally new to us, that was a really cool feeling.
That is a really cool feeling. And the most gratifying experience is when somebody you have never met before and someone you have never been connected with, and then all of a sudden they send you a message that, hey, you made a difference in my day. You made a difference in my life, and you changed my perspective on something. Because, for myself, this is just my experience, is that, when we're going through this thing called life, we get tossed these experiences that sometimes and occasionally they may not necessarily be what we want. It may be what we need. And it changes our direction, and it changes our life, and it can be major impact. And so I always look at every experience like that as like, what is the lesson in this experience? Good, bad, or
Hmm.
indifferent. It's all a lesson. It's all, we're practicing life. This is what we do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my perspective. And I wanted to kind of unpack that a little bit with you, because I think it's important for people to really investigate, self-awareness and find out, don't get upset about things. Don't get mad, or, it's just something that's taking place, and notice why it's impacting you in a positive or a negative way. And I think really that's where the magic happens in terms of,
Yeah.
who we are and what we become, is if we can actually understand what triggers we have, and why, and what's the source of our triggers. So I'd
Oh
really
my
like you
gosh.
to talk a little bit about that, and maybe
Yeah. Oh, I
share.
love this subject. Yeah, I love this because I think, and I'll use myself as an example, as I often do, whether in coaching or any other communications. But for a long time, I told the story from a victim's standpoint instead of kind of the hero of my journey. I was married to a man who was an addict.
Uh,
Um, and there's a lot that comes along with that. There's just a lot of craziness that I was not emotionally, mentally prepared to deal with. And
mhm.
so, there was stealing, there was infidelity, there was abuse, there all these things. And at the time, this is going back 30 something years, to me this was all being done to me, and I continued that story and I stayed in that story, and guess
Mhm.
what, my outer world reflected that. So it wasn't until much later where I learned that some of the hardest things we go through, these are clues maybe to what we're meant to do. And there's lessons to be
Yeah.
gleaned. And how do you glean the lesson? So now, fast forward to now in my 50s, yes, I can recognize when things don't go well, or, I say in quote, well, because there's a reason for it. I start looking for the reason a lot faster, where
Yeah.
I don't stay just kind of in the muck of what's happening. And I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. Work in progress for sure. But like I said, I move out of that a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think with our stories, be really careful about how you talk about yourself. Are you using empowering words
Mhm.
versus disempowering words? And again, with my example, it was all disempowering. I was just giving it all away.
Yeah.
And it's so important to be aware of what you're saying, what you're putting out there, because words are so powerful.
Words are incredibly powerful, and your position is a reflection of your perspective, right?
Yeah.
And so, in to empower yourself, a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be egotistical, or I don't want to be. However, that's not the same as taking ownership and responsibility for your situation.
Exactly.
We can all play the victim, and that does not travel nearly as far as being responsible for who we are and what we're doing. So I want, and this is a lesson I continue to, practice.
Mhm.
It's like I'm far from perfect. And so I just remind myself, and care, and make sure that, okay, forgiveness is part of that equation. And it's like, okay, some of the things the baggage that we carry for all these years, it's like we have to let it go. It's like
Yeah.
live in the moment as much as possible, and continue to remove that baggage and shame and guilt, and everything, all the labels that people have either placed on you or you've accepted.
Right.
And
Right.
so let's shift gears a little bit, and I want to continue that path, and it also, I wanted to share a little bit about your journey, because you said, late 18 you got into some of this stuff, and you're moving forward, and LinkedIn has probably been a big part of that, I would think. I mean,
Sure.
that's where our relationship has evolved.
Mhm.
And so how are you utilizing LinkedIn? Because I think a lot of people are starving for a little more consideration, love, compassion, a little kindness in the world, considering all the noise that's going on outside. So walk us through how your experience has been and what you're doing to reach out to other people and how that's working out for you.
Sure. So I think when I started on LinkedIn, like a lot of people years ago, like over a decade ago, I had opened a LinkedIn account because I was told, yep, that's what you need to do. And then I never looked at it again because I had a job. And to me, that was, only people who need to find a job, So when I started back on LinkedIn, I thought, oh God, I don't want to do this. This is going to be so boring. It's so dry. And very quickly, I think when I got on, it was when video was still fairly new. So I'm kind of looking at people's videos and I was finding, some like-minded people. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. I didn't expect this at all.
Yeah.
So, but that said, I think I started kind of creeping around in the summer of 2018.
You creeper, you.
Yeah, I was a creeper. And I was afraid to post my own stuff. And I knew we were going live with the Divine Breadcrumb on 11/11/18. So I thought, all right, I'm just going to kind of meet some people behind the scenes and get to know people and get the lay of the land. And that's very much my personality. Like I don't just, at a meeting, I'm not just chatting away. I kind of observe and that, so that it was the same thing. Yeah. And I remember doing my first post probably a week or two before we went live. And it was just a generic like meme, inspirational meme. I didn't tag anyone, like basically hiding still. So
the power of hiding.
Oh gosh. Yeah. But I had some really great conversations with people on Zoom calls. So I knew there were some really nice people out there to connect with. And what was nice is the people that I connected with recommended me to connect with other people. So it was kind of growing organically. So when I first did my first real post, like putting it out there about the Divine Breadcrumb, and I tagged at this point some of the people that I knew. And then I just waited and I watched. And, I was addicted to my phone all day. And then an interesting thing happened that I did not expect. I got really emotional, upset. Like I felt, this feels icky to me. I am not salesy. I felt like so vulnerable. I had put myself out there. This isn't me. And it was just something I didn't expect to happen. And I remember I was actually having a meeting with my coach that day. And, he gets on our call and he's like, well, how are you doing today? And I just burst out crying. I'm like, this isn't me. I don't know what I'm doing. This doesn't feel right. And
imposter syndrome.
Major. And so, he was so good. And he's just kind of smiling while I'm talking. And he's like, okay, do you know why I'm smiling? I'm like, no, but you better be telling me something good. And so he said, I'm very much the same way, like the sales and the market, that's not my thing. It's uncomfortable. He's like, but you'll be okay. Just, do it when you feel inspired to do it. Don't make yourself do it when it's not feeling good. And as simple as that sounds, it did help. And in time, that got much better. So as I got more comfortable posting, I would kind of find people that I thought would resonate with my content. I knew some of what I was posting was a little woo-woo for people and maybe not ready for LinkedIn. So I wasn't sure how it was going to be received. But the people who want to find that type of content will find you. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
It just kind of like magnets, it's the attraction factor.
It sure is. Yeah.
So I just want to take a moment here and extend my level of gratitude for you being here. If you're in the live, Arcot, Dylan, Jessica, Julio, Lori, Jill, Kristen, Celeste, and Sherry, me. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I know that there's a lot of Nick Dorsey's here, Vicky O'Neill. There's a lot of people in here that are like-minded individuals. And you said something that really I wanted to expand on a little bit, because I think it's important for everybody to understand is that nobody really likes to be sold to. Nobody likes to sell. Nobody likes to be there are some people that are aggressive. However, one of the things that really I feel strongly about is the reason I do this is because I feel like there's a lot of people that need to hear this information. There's a lot of people that are starving for a little bit of kindness, a little bit of, just compassion. And I think that because I'm not selling anything here, I have things that I do, and I have a business, and I grow my business, and I just really, I feel compassionate about the people that don't have a voice, that are unwilling or unable at this point in their life to share their gifts, their message, and their understanding of what they do. Because there's a lot of talented people out there that are not yet to the point where they want to share that information. And rather than selling somebody or pushing it on somebody, it's really about how can I share this information to provide value to other people. And when you're sharing this information, like your podcast and your content, your posts, if it's in sync with the feeling of adding value to the world, I think that's a completely different emotion and feeling than what can I get out of you today.
Absolutely.
So I just want to speak that out there and make sure that you hear that, and you know that when you add value to the world, people will automatically become attracted to what you're doing. And if they need your help and they need you to help them, they will come and find you. It's kind of weird. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but that's how it works. And I've proven it multiple occasions. I don't know what your experience is, Carol, but I just had to say that.
Yeah, no, and I agree. If you come up with, you show up with just this intention of service, how can I serve today? Who can I maybe, sometimes my posts are more, sometimes it's a blog post that's more humorous, or, it doesn't have to be serious every day. And it just depends what it is, but trying to show up with that intention and not the intention of what can I get out of this really helps, because I've had the same experience. And I know Kristen Sherry just did a post the other day, and, we were talking about, people who are, dropping into your inbox and dropping links without so much as a hello. Or I've gotten a lot where it's hi, thanks for connecting. And then the very next thing, what are your business goals for 2020, or that type of thing. And I think, okay, I get what you're doing, and I don't think it's wrong that you want to find business. However, this is your first impression, the same as if we were face to face in an office. And if that's the first thing you're going to say to me, whoa, I mean, I don't even know you yet. I'm not going to share with you my goals and my hopes and my dreams. Yeah. So, and I really feel like, just like you said, Russ, this is not a scolding. I think people just don't really realize how it comes across, and they're actually shooting themselves in the foot, and where they could have had a great opportunity if they had just taken the time to cultivate a relationship, they've lost it.
Yeah. And I think it really goes back to, extend yourself in a valuable way, and be appropriate. And like you said, a lot of people may not understand, especially if you're living in scarcity and you're like desperate, and it's like you're going to throw it out there all day long. And what happens is all of those individuals that you just spammed it's a negative reaction. It's not a positive reaction.
Oh, absolutely.
And we could talk about that. Let's kind of shift gears though, once again, to the idea of the podcast that you're doing, because I want to make sure that people understand and can find you. And, I love the name. Tell us about the name and how that came about.
Sure. Oh, I love this story. Okay. So I had been using the phrase divine breadcrumb for years. And for me, that just meant like, what I call like signs and clues from the universe,
Uh-huh.
where so an example for me was I met up with a friend from high school that I hadn't seen in years, and she recommended going to see this woman for a Reiki session, which is an energy healing. And I had never done that. So I ended up going to that. I really hit it off with the woman. She was teaching a class, and I just kept following what I was calling divine breadcrumbs. And
Uh-huh.
it's usually something that feels good and then leads your life on some new trajectory. So for over 20 years, I was in corporate. Most of them I knew I didn't want to be there. It didn't feel good, but I was single mom. I had my daughter, and it never occurred to me that, oh, I can do something totally different. Like this was the roadmap that was laid out before me. You go to college, you get your job, and even if you hate your job, oh well, they collect your paycheck.
That's what you're supposed to do.
That's what you're supposed to do. So it was probably actually at the end of 2017, I was really starting to get antsy. My daughter was now grown. And I just thought, okay, if there was ever a time to take a chance, this would be it. And so I kind of hemmed and hawed and figure out like the best time. And I ended up giving a month's notice. I ended on good terms. And my plan was literally, I had no job to go to. I had enough savings to have a pretty long runway.
Uh-huh.
And in my head, I thought, all right, it's going to take me a few weeks. I'll figure this out and I'll be off and running. And that's not what happened. So I leave the only world I had known in April of 2018. And I went into kind of like a little mini depression. Like, who am I? Like now that I'm not corporate Carol with all my responsibilities and I got my 2 phones and my laptop,
the corporate orphanage.
Yeah. So what I ended up doing after kind of spinning out for a little while is hired a coach, which was one of the best things I ever did. And I really looked hard to find someone who was kind of in alignment and interested in the same things I was interested in. And probably within 2 months of coaching with him, I was starting to panic because nothing really was coming to me. And, when you're in fear, well, that shuts everything down. So it's kind of this counterintuitive. All right, I'm trying to stay out of fear mode so that I can allow guidance in. So one day,
I'm terrified.
Yeah, even though I'm terrified, yes. So one day I was exercising, and I think a lot of people relate to this when you're like walking, exercising in the shower, like just doing mindless things. That's when ideas flow to you. And what I got is, I describe it as kind of a download. I don't know how else to describe it, of starting this online community, showcasing amazing people all over the world doing really good things with heart, and but also where they had a divine breadcrumb moment that caused this. Maybe they were like me, it was a corporate thing, something happened, and then that moved you.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, where the heck did that come from? I have no idea, but I got really excited about it. And that's always
And you probably got very focused at that point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And of course, when you get that buzzy feeling, it's like, okay, that's my sign I'm on the right course. So of course, I went over to my best friend's house and I'm telling her all about it. And she got really excited because, we had always wanted to work on something together, but our skill sets were very different. I mean, aligned, but different. She's a web developer, has worked for herself for over 20 years. But anyway, we got excited and one of us suggested, well, let's do a podcast. Well, we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea what to do with a podcast. And I'm not kidding. The next day, she got in her inbox an email from Creative Live about a free week-long podcast training they were doing. And so like, divine breadcrumb. Yep. So,
follow the trail here.
Yeah. And so that's how it started. And we taught ourselves everything. And we thought about, what date made sense to go live. I was writing blog posts on the side also that kind of chronicle my journey. So that's part of it. And then we just went from there.
That is so in tune with so many people that I've talked to. And that's part of the equation with the pirate broadcast is like, I'm a corporate orphan. I've been in and out of corporate life, my entire adult career, and all of these journeys, these detours through my life have always returned back to the creative process, helping others and sharing value in some way. And I think if we could highlight other people doing the same thing, and I can surround myself with, creative, interesting people, then all of a sudden the attraction factor, it's magnified, right? And
Absolutely.
if we can help each other, it's like, okay, there's people around us doing these things, and that attracts other people. And, there's upside and downside because, like you said, sometimes the imposter syndrome creeps in and you go, and why me? Why am I thinking about this? And you have to turn around and say, why not me? There's a lot of people that are able to do this thing and have done this thing. There's a roadmap. It's not rocket science. It's a system. It's a process. It's your determination to actually go out and get this, add value to the world, share that value, and attract people that want to be in alignment with what you're doing. So I applaud you for doing that. And this is one of the things that I want to do, with what I'm doing is like, hey, shine on, Carol, shine on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and what you're doing is so important. And everything you were just talking about, that's actually a lot about what our new online program Life Flip is about, is helping people with that roadmap. Because, I know you've talked to so many people who are looking for a transition, but they're afraid. It is a scary thing. It is a really scary thing to go into the unknown. And, there's that fear of, okay, I'm going to lose something I'm comfortable with if I change. Say it's leaving corporate. Okay, I'm going to lose those coworkers, that interaction that I had every day, or even if it's eating well, okay, I'm going to lose the chance to have those foods that I like, and that's uncomfortable. And then the next thing we go through, it's just that I think it's more of an icky process that where you go through the discomfort of being so aware of what you don't know, in those quadrants with the, unconscious and conscious learning. I forget what the names of all of them are, but it's a very uncomfortable spot to be in when you're very aware that you don't know what you're doing yet. You just want to move to expertise.
Yeah.
And then finally, I think the other fear, and I know I had this too, is what if I go through all of this and the grass isn't greener on the other side? So, and you just have
the
to
grass is only green where you water it.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to trust in these intangible things and trust that the universe is going to come to meet you when you're pursuing something that means something to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really a strange chain of events, essentially, when you look back, because you can see some of the things that were connected and the breadcrumbs that were left as a result of your experience or your inexperience.
Right.
It's neither good nor bad. And it's, the comfort and the uncomfort, the discomfort is really part of the same piece of the puzzle. It's really, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to be a CEO couch surfing, right?
Right.
The actions that you take may not necessarily be the right actions, but as long as they're deliberate and you get a result and a lesson from that, it will lead you to the next thing. It will give you the breadcrumb to go to the next thing, and then the next thing. That's like I shared, I think, on Sarah Elkin's podcast. I have a company called Next Step Next, and it's an agency that was developed as a result of being ejected from the corporate world into the corporate orphanage, as I call it. And it's like, what's the next thing? What's the next step? Well, the next step is next. You just keep going, and you lose everything. You reinvent yourself. You recreate what you're doing. You find your path, and experience life. I mean, experience something that you haven't done before. Go out, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be earth shattering news. It could be small, little incremental steps
Hmm.
to get you to the next place. And as long as you're moving forward and learning, and I really encourage everybody to be a lifelong learner, because that's where the growth takes place. Is you know, information is free. You can go
Yes.
learn anything. You can listen to podcasts. You can connect with Carol, and listen to the pirate broadcast. Just saying.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's so much good information out there that's
Yeah.
uplifting. So instead of, reaching for your phone and checking your inbox first thing, I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many other things you can choose from to start your day off right.
Oh, and when you're in that mindset, at least for me, all I see is opportunity. I look everywhere and I see opportunity, and it just takes a little bit of action behind the idea and to move it forward. And I just love these conversations too, Carol. And so it's kind of it's something I love to do, and meet people and share ideas and extend this to the community. So
And
thank you
you're
so
so good at it. Everybody feels so at home with you.
much. well, that's because I'm at home. So what's one thing that you would love to share with the community today, so that you can leave with us, and one of those moments that we can extend to others?
I think I think really it's all about discovering who you truly are, why you're here, where you want to go, and learning how to listen to that guidance from within. There's a gazillion experts, there's coaches out the wazoo, but which is all great, but you also have to learn to listen to your inner knowing. And we all have that. And it really can help you navigate your life. That's not some woo-woo thing. That's something that we all have.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Carol, and thank you for being here. All the
Thank you for
gratitude.
having me.
I love what you're doing, and I applaud you, and continue to do it. And you know, so many things are in your future that you haven't seen yet, and just keep doing it. And if you need anything or want anything, just holler. People are out there waiting.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks, Russ.
and always, kindness is cool, smiles are free, and you enjoy the day.